This video is about how Halo builds fear, not with monsters or jump scares, but with structure, atmosphere, absence, and inevitability. You know, I've heard people say often, maybe you've heard this too, but I've heard people say, Halo CE was a horror game. Well, it's not really a horror game, but it is built out of horror techniques that people don't consciously notice on first playthrough. And if you were someone that didn't play horror games, it's easy to see how this game could be terrifying to new players. In fact, a lot of FPS games from back in the day were just much darker and scarier by default. Games that came before Halo like Half-Life, Duke Nukem 3D, System Shock, hell, even the original Doom games had a lot of horror design elements in them. And while those games were fast-paced shooters on the surface, they had a ton of unsettling parts. And depending on what types of games you play, something like Half-Life might have been a really scary game for you. I know as a kid, Duke Nukem 3D scared the living shit out of me. But anyways, as for Halo, you of course have the Flood. But Halo's horror goes deeper than just the monsters. Bungie used specific design patterns to create a low-frequency dread that most players feel but never identify. The atmosphere, the loneliness, the mature tone, the way the game keeps pulling hope out from under you, it's all built on horror design principles. However, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Halo is some sort of ultra-dark horror game, because it's not. In fact, Halo has a lot of dark humor kind of stuff, like Marines dying in slapstick chaos and everything about the grunts. They are just goofy as fuck. You know what I'm talking about. And a lot of the game is violent, but it can also be comedy. It shares a lot of the same dark humor as something like Starship Troopers. But Halo also has a different kind of darkness. It's quiet. It's a darkness that's under everything. It's the part you can feel but never name. And that's what this video is about. So, let's go level by level and look at some of these horror-like moments, why they exist, and what they achieve. So at the start of the game, you get these two friendly crew members who are helping you with your diagnostics. You got the guy up top, Sam, and then I don't know what this guy's name is, but both of them are basically killed right away. Sam gets gunned down by the Covenant.
To the door! Intruders in the IO2! Please, yes! Sam! Sam! Come on.
And this guy, he just wants to get the hell out of here.
Come on, we've got to get the hell out of here. This way!
And he gets blown the fuck up. And this is the very start of the game. So yeah, it's a bit tame, but think about it from a design perspective. This guy is the player's anchor. He's the one helping you get oriented. Literally, he's walking you through the tutorial. He is comfort and safety, and then he's just gone, instantly. This is Bungie selling the world to the player. You're in a real war, and nobody's safe. Not even the characters meant to teach you how to play. Making your way to the captain, you see these wounded and dying soldiers. Once again, it's more immersion to tell the player this is a real war, and shit is bad. Later on in the level, you can see the Covenant destroying the lifeboats as they try to exit the ship. I mean, this is a pretty horrific scene if you think about it. The Covenant aren't just shooting at you. They're erasing every escape route. That's classic horror logic. The Predator isn't emotional, it's efficient. And here's a dark humor kind of moment. I always thought this part was kind of funny, at least.
Sure could use your help, sir.
At the end of the level, you save this Marine who almost didn't make it.
Get aboard before it launches.
No.
Now what?
But immediately, at the start of the second level, the lifeboat crashes and everyone dies but you. It's not horror in the traditional sense. There's no monster jump scare here, but it's a kind of existential horror, the kind you get in war films, where bravery doesn't save anyone, victories and lives just get erased in the next scene. It's dread, not fear. You believed you were safe, and you even saved a guy that might not have made it onto the lifeboat. Chief comforts this guy who asks, "We're gonna make it, aren't we, sir?"
We're gonna make it, aren't we, sir? I don't want to die out here.
Look!
And you're probably like, "Hell yeah, we're gonna make it, brother." But then immediately after, everyone but you dies in the crash. Moments like this made the game feel mature. The first view of Halo feels divine. The ring out in the distance, the waterfalls, big landscapes, you got your trees and vegetation. But nothing here, including the plants and trees, none of it belongs there. It almost looks like it could be somewhere on Earth, which just plays into the eeriness. What happened to the people that built it or lived here? It's a nice, beautiful place, almost a paradise. And I think this really plays into the whole mysterious horror atmosphere of Halo, because the ring's beauty is a deception. The more beautiful it is, the more off and unsettling it feels once you realize it's just a weapon. It's an artificial Eden that's built for genocide. This level is the first time you really enter a Forerunner structure. At this point in the game, you're not asking big lore questions yet, you're just following the mission. But the moment you drive the Warthog inside, something subtle happens. Warthogs make the player feel powerful, they're loud, mobile, safe. But watch what happens here the instant you're forced to step out.
They pay me for this! More of them! Roger that!
The engine dies, the sound drops, and suddenly the whole tone of the level just changes. It goes from action to unease in 1 second. And that change is intentional. It's the game stripping away your comfort before you realize just what's happening.
Echo 419 inbound. Clear the drop zone.
They got it, you!
When you board the Covenant ship on the Truth and Reconciliation, you are hit with a textbook horror reveal disguised as an ambush. You get the chatter from the Marines who are standing in formation. It's quiet. Most likely, for a first-time player, they aren't even going to notice the door opening that an invisible elite with an energy sword comes out of.
We're in. I've got a good lock on the captain's CNI transponder. No Covenant defenses detected.
What? There's no Covenant here. Think maybe nobody's home.
The squad is torn apart by something they couldn't even see. That's a classic little horror scene right there. And there isn't really much of a warning on first playthrough. You could easily lose a few Marines here before you have any idea of what's going on. I talked a lot about atmosphere in my last video, so I'll keep this section brief and try not to repeat myself too much. But the atmosphere of the Forerunner structures and installations is very crucial in creating the darker and horror-esque tone of the original game. On this level, it's the first time you really get a sense of scale and emptiness of the Forerunner structures here. It's a sense of mystery, like, what is this place? What was it used for? Who built it and where did they go? What happened to them? Did something bad happen? The atmosphere starts putting these questions into the player's mind early on, building dread and tension, even if the player isn't consciously thinking about it. Being deep inside the structures is a bit scary in itself. The atmosphere is thick and mysterious. The structures make you feel small, like you are somewhere you aren't supposed to be.
Don't let them lock the doors.
Assault on the control room gives you even more of the weird, ancient Forerunner structures. The hallways often feel just a bit too small or way too large, and it just adds to the sense of whoever built this place was completely alien, yet understood similar concepts of form and scale. There are really strange props, and the layouts of the rooms are bizarre, yet they aren't weird enough to really confuse you. The cold walls, almost a brutalist style, gives a feeling that you are walking through some sort of ancient tomb. It's easy to ask, what was this place built for? But it's hard to imagine just what exactly could have been taking place here. And the environment of the level being a snow biome adds to the feeling of the structures being cold and dead, or like something ancient that has been frozen in time. 343 Guilty Spark. So this is the level the Flood is introduced, and much of the atmosphere and dread and tension building throughout the game has been leading up to the moment the Flood are revealed. I did talk about this level a bunch in the last video, and the Flood themselves aren't really the focus of this video, but I do want to go through and point out some neat horror designs used on this level. Before the mission even begins, the horror tension is already building. You were just told by Cortana that you have to stop the captain and that there's no time to explain, so you leave without her. So now, for the first time, the player is all alone with no Cortana to comfort them. And you've been dropped off in some sort of swamp that is blanketed in a thick fog. And this is the first level where the player cannot see clearly. While every other level has been fairly visible, this one has massively reduced visibility. This tells the player's brain subconsciously that something is not right. Immediately, you see this crashed Pelican with strange radio chatter coming from it.
Captured by hostiles. Dug in at a large structure in a swamp here. Can hold out, please.
And making your way through the fog, even the Covenant have had a bad time in this place. They aren't in their normal formations. You can see the outline of some Flood monsters here, and if the player does notice, they're definitely going to be like, what the fuck was that? Inside the Forerunner structure, it's very maze-like. It's liminal, and on first playthrough, it's very easy to get lost or accidentally get turned around. And when you suddenly open a door into a corridor that's just layered in Covenant blood, the player probably has a pretty bad feeling that something is really wrong. Nothing you've seen really has felt like this does. And right before the Flood reveal, you get a really cool cutscene of Chief watching the recording from Jenkins' helmet. It's really like a mini found footage horror film in a way. And the only found footage horror movie that had been released at the time, I believe, was the Blair Witch Project. So when this game came out, this cutscene actually was pretty unique, and it was really fucking cool. The little story beats in it are just done really well.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Boy, you always got a bad feeling about something.
Sarge, can you hear me?
What's going on, soldier?
We've got contact. Lots of them. But they're not Covenant. They're just tearing through us. What's the flow? No!
Corporal, do you copy? Over! Mendoza, get your ass back up to second squad's position and find out what the hell is going on.
But...
I don't have time for your lip, soldier. I gave you an order.
Sarge! Listen!
What is that?
Where's that coming from,
Everywhere.
Mendoza?
I don't... There! Mira! Hold still! Hold still!
Let him have it! Sergeant?
Of course, right after you watch it, the Flood are revealed. Part of the fear too, I think, after you realize what the new enemy is that you are fighting, is that you are going to have to try and find a way out of this maze-like structure you are in while these creatures are now attacking you. It's almost like being in a fever dream, just a really cool sci-fi one. So here's a really cool moment that is completely optional, so I think a lot of players miss it. But after the Flood are revealed, if you go back to the elevator that you used to come into the structure and try to use the panel, look what happens. The library leans into the liminal level design, and it's really easy to get turned around or lost on first playthrough. This level has a lot of good examples of scale of structures, walls, and pathways not being exactly like our own. For example, the elevators the player uses in the level are just incredibly massive. What were the Forerunners using these elevators for? I'm not even sure if this is an elevator, meant to like move people, or is it a piece of machinery that you are just riding up on? Anyway, by now the player is realizing this entire place was built for something much bigger than you. You're back on the same level as Assault on the Control Room, but the vibe here is much different now. It's here a different type of horror starts to creep in. Seeing moments like this, the Flood and the Sentinels fighting while everything falls apart, it gives me the feeling this must have been what it was like for the Forerunners in their last moments in this place. Flood and Sentinels fighting while everything just falls apart. While before these areas felt like giant tombs, now they feel like battlefields. It's like you're walking through the ghost of the Forerunners' final war, watching history collapse all over again. There is this feeling or idea that you are reenacting a script far older than humanity. This is where the architecture of fear becomes explicit. The world is repeating itself around you. Here, we see how even the mighty Covenant are powerless to stop the Flood. They are just completely overrun. And of course, hearing the captain's groans of pain and hearing his mind break as he is completely absorbed by biomass is pretty dark, but I think the real horror here is showing that the Flood has consumed everything. Even the strongest authority figure in the human campaign, the leader, is reduced to instinctive pain noises. The Flood has consumed not just the bodies, but the entire hierarchy as well. And then, of course, having to punch through his head to get the neural implant is a pretty disturbing scene, but very cool stuff.
What he'd want us to do. It's done. I have the code.
And finally, we return to the Pillar of Autumn and destroy the ring. But you know, in a way, 343 Guilty Spark was right when he said, "Why would you refuse to do what you have already done?"
Why would you hesitate to do what you have already done?
That line is the real horror of Halo Combat Evolved, not the Flood. The Flood is just the visible threat. The real horror is that you are reenacting a script older than your entire species. You're performing the final movements of a civilization that already died trying to stop the same thing. You're not an exception, you're just a replacement part in something much greater than you. Halo forces you into the same pattern the Forerunners died in. Fight the Flood, lose everyone, use Halo to stop it, and then rationalize the cost. Yeah, you didn't fire the ring, you destroyed it, but you still completed the cycle. Cortana says, "We did what we had to do. We had no choice."
We did what we had to do. For Earth. An entire Covenant armada obliterated and the Flood. We had no choice.
The Forerunner said the same thing. That's the architecture of fear inside Halo. You're the strongest soldier alive, but you're acting out the last chapter of a civilization that failed before you, because this cycle is bigger than you. Bigger than humanity, bigger than the Forerunners, bigger than the Flood. And you don't get to choose your part in it. You're not saving the galaxy, you're just repeating the same logic the Forerunners used. The Flood is stopped here, but the cycle isn't. Alright, so if you like Halo videos like this, I do have a few ideas for some other videos. Let me know in the comments below. This has been David with Consternation Evolved. Thanks for watching.
There's no stopping me! God, I love this job! Baby, I'm on fire! That's another! Anyone gonna help me?